now we are joined by one of my favorite people, Anna Kasparian, who is a host and producer for the Young Turks, is the co-host with Nanda Vila of the Weekends show on Jacobin, which airs a little bit before this records, which is on purpose because I didn't want to have to stop watching that to record this. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Ben. I'm really happy to be here.
So, yeah, one thing that you've talked about recently on Weekends, not this week but last week, is about what we were just talking about, basically, essentially with the last two guests, right? Which was about capitalism and how we could maybe try to to get beyond it. And one thing that we're often told on that subject is that basically, like, the state equals unfreedom, capitalism equals freedom, that if you want to be able to live your life the way that you want to, you want to, for example, have privacy in your information, then capitalism, the sort of current economic system that we have, is going to be your friend. And I know that's not your recent experience, and this is something that you've talked about recently on the show, why you think it's like a serious mistake to think that things are going to shake out that way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because basically what happened with that segment, and that commentary was I was targeted by a hacker, and he was pretty relentless, made my life miserable for over a week. And I started really wanting to understand how it is that hackers can do anything they want. Like, they can find any information on you. It made me curious about the various ways we're being surveilled, the various ways data is being collected on us, and how really data has been commodified, right? And so I decided to take like my frustration and anger out on that segment and learn more, just kind of educate myself more about data capitalism. And so I came across a lot of really great essays on this, and it became abundantly clear to me that since our data has been commodified, and since we're essentially unpaid workers in willy-nilly handing over all this private data to various corporations, be it Google or Facebook, we literally cannot have privacy. We just can't, because there is a very significant vested interest in collecting that data, meaning surveilling us, and then selling that data to third parties. And that's really Facebook's bread and butter. That's Google's bread and butter. I mean, they are not what they appear to be. Like, on the surface, Facebook is, social networking site. But in reality, they're data brokers. And they're advertisers.
That's the business model, because if they're not finding some way to either directly sell your data, right, or to use it to get your eyeballs on advertisement, then Facebook and the rest would be charities, right? There'd be no way for them to make money. And newsflash, right? Mark Zuckerberg is not in this for humanitarian reasons. That these guys are business owners, and they are trying to make money, and so of course we want to be able to connect to each other these ways, right? Like everybody, God knows, especially now that that just leaving the house, right, is so is so much more fraught, than it used to be, right? We all need ways to communicate with the people that we care about, to stay in touch with people we might not otherwise stay in touch with, right? So social media definitely serves that, but having it be in the hands of these private corporations means that you're a lot more likely. Yes, somebody asked, that is my cat Shabazz. The door is open, but he's still being a cat and wandering around and meowing. But because these are in the hands of private corporations, this isn't just a matter of saying, okay, all complex ecosystems have parasites. You're going to get you're going to get hackers and stalkers and, all kinds of terrible people sort of nibbling around the edges, of any setup where they think they have an opening. But this is also due to the data practices of these corporations. Like, they're not just innocent bystanders in this.
Absolutely. Exactly. And, what was really fascinating to me in like researching this particular segment was coming across various CEOs in Silicon Valley who were not only transparent about the surveillance and collection of our data, but unapologetic about it, just kind of saying boldly, if you haven't done anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. But in reality,
which sounds like exactly like John Ashcroft talking about the Patriot Act,
Yes,
like this is exactly what like government representatives justifying government surveillance would say. Oh, if you haven't done anything wrong, then what are you complaining about? Even though, of course, like, people tell things to Google, essentially. Like, if you think about everything you've ever searched for on Google, people tell things to this company that they wouldn't tell to their best friend or their priest.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But even if somehow you're like this, I guess, miracle person who's never done anything embarrassing, who's never searched for anything embarrassing, it doesn't matter, because in one way or the other, this type of collection of your personal data makes you vulnerable to bad actors. So that's honestly what I was dealing with, right? Because what was going through my mind was, how is it that my address, like, this person has my address? And just to give you guys some context, I have gone through numerous headaches to basically conceal my address. I started a shell corporation in order to put the address, to put my property, my little condo, under that shell corporation. So when someone searches for me in public records, they're not able to find my address. So then I realized, I made the mistake by ordering something online and having it delivered to me directly. And that's it. You only need to do it once. And that information is connected to your name. And all you need is that website, that company to get hacked. All of that information gets sold on the dark web. And, if you're a public figure, you go through absolute hell in dealing with someone who's targeting you. So that's, like, I guess, more of an extreme example. But I think what we're also noticing is that our data is being used to create the algorithms that keep us in these, like, data bubbles, right? And these, I guess, ideological bubbles. And so Facebook loves that. That's also part of their business model, because it triggers, your brain. Like, it's like cocaine. You come across content that's more and more extreme, or you come across content that reinforces your preconceived notions, and it becomes addictive, right? And you stay engaged in that social media platform, and that's what they want to sell to advertisers as well. So there's a lot of really great, scholarly work on this stuff. But the one thing I wanted to, like, really elaborate on, I didn't think I did a good enough job in my segment, so I'll do it here. Data capitalism really focuses on the imbalance of power, right? So really, the people who have the capability of processing the data and making sense of it are the ones who are, experiencing a great deal of power, and that power imbalance negatively impacts the vast majority of people. So, I think anytime you talk about how capitalism impacts certain parts of our lives, certain freedoms, it is important to think about power dynamics and how they play a role.